What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. How is everybody doing this evening? There is plenty to talk about, as always. A little bit of transfer news as well. We switched to Manchester United news. So we're going to talk about the Ronaldo interview. We're going to talk about the Ronaldo quotes. That's the big story. That's the big thing I think that everyone wants to talk about. Everyone is talking about. So I was talking to Flex when we were setting this up earlier today, and I was like, what should we actually switch this to? Should we just switch it just to a news thing, or should it be a transfer thing? And we were like, yeah, it's not much transfer news going on. There's a little bit of transfer stuff going on as well. So that's always the way, always the way. But I'm joined with DJ. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It'd be good to react to kind of what's been said. There's been a lot going on out there. Some I believe, some I don't believe, but let's get into it, man.
Yeah. So first of all, we're going to obviously talk about those Cristiano Ronaldo quotes. Because we've got a bit of time this evening, we're going to get into really the nitty gritty of some quotes in particular and some specific quotes. But DJ, first of all, just general reaction. What did you think? What did you think to what Ronaldo had to say?
Yeah, you know what? I think what he said was it affirmed kind of some of the many fears that us United fans have. And even into everybody in the free seats, even into everybody watching in the show. But yeah, it confirmed a lot of the stuff that, came out last week. And last week it was a little bit difficult to decipher what was sort of like over exaggerated or what was factual or what was, do you know what I mean? Or what was agenda driven. But I'm glad he did. Because I think at the time when he was at Manchester United, things were so different, and it must be a completely different club for him to walk into now. Structurally, it's different, I'd say. We don't have the best manager of all time there anymore. A couple of other people have moved on. The players that he played with have moved on. The caliber of player that he played with has definitely moved on. And, I think it was right for him to come out and challenge these players. And he's probably done it. I don't get the feeling that he hasn't done this behind closed doors. I think he has. I think he's challenged each and every one of them in there, and including himself. He's the consummate professional, and I'm glad that he came out and said, these type of players these days are different to the players that I played with, in a sense, in terms of mentality, in terms of being able to handle criticism, in terms of being able to sort of challenge and apply themselves. And I'm glad he did that, because the levels need to go back up. If we ever want to get back to those glory days, I think we're a few years off, but if we ever want to go back to there, this is a start. We need to be addressing the issue.
Absolutely. One thing, DJ, because my OCD is going to drive me crazy. Can you move your camera up slightly so there's less room above your head, sort of thing?
Okay. There you go.
There you go. Cool. There you go. Because that will bug me. It will drive me crazy.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my opinion on it was, and I would definitely recommend everyone, don't just read the quotes, go watch the interview as well. Because it's one thing to read what someone has said, especially when someone like Ronaldo speaks English very, very well. But when it's someone else's second language, and you don't really hear, when you just read stuff, you don't really hear how people are saying something or the context in which they're saying things. And like I said, especially when it's not their first language as well, certain words can kind of get lost in the shuffle and all that kind of stuff. So I would recommend to go watch it, because I think it speaks even greater. I think it speaks even greater than just the quotes themselves. What I kind of got out of it when I watched it, and by the way, the full interview's on YouTube, it's on Sky Sports website, it's everywhere. Go watch it after us. Don't leave us now.
No, not now. I was
just realizing. I was going, go watch it in a bit. Not right now. Yeah, what I kind of got from it was he doesn't go in on the manager. So people that are like, anything like that. He if anything, he says, look, Ralph Rangnick's done some good stuff. He needs time. It's going to take a while. He keeps saying, and he's clever. He's very clever how he says it. He keeps saying things have to change. Things have to change. It's not my place to say what necessarily has to change. But then for the remainder of the interview, he starts talking about mentality and how it's all about the individual wanting to improve. We have to improve. Yeah. Things have to change. But he talks about mentality a lot. And he also even points out as well, and we'll get into the actual quote in a second, where he says about, tactics are one thing and they can maybe help a team slightly, but it's all about individuals and mentality and all that kind of stuff. Basically, if you want to read between the lines, which you have to do in football interviews, he's basically going in a bit on players. He's going in on players, basically saying, look, the manager is doing the best he can. There is a mentality issue at Manchester United when it comes to players. He doesn't name individuals. He doesn't throw anyone under the bus, but he says, he's basically saying, look, there's a mentality problem and the players have the quality to turn it around. Because he keeps saying we can have a successful season still. But basically he's just saying, but the players have to actually put in work and they have to hold themselves accountable. I think even one of the biggest things in it is he gets asked a question about when it comes to young players. Oh, young players, I bet it's useful for you being around so you can help the young players and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, well, sort of, I suppose it can, but let's be honest here. I can give advice, for days on end, but it's up for a player to really take that advice on board and implement it. I can talk to you. You can ask me questions, but if you don't actually want to change, if you don't want to improve, they're just words. They're just words at the end of the day. And he's right. And he's absolutely right. So I thought that was a really interesting thing that he said. We'll get into the actual quotes in a second. Super chat from Red Baron says, I don't think it's this generation, though. I think it's just our players. Look at City and Liverpool players. They are humble and work hard. I mean, I think it's like with everything, nothing's completely straightforward. I don't think it's like Red Baron says there. I don't think it's just a generation thing. They might be just a player thing, but I don't know. There's lots in it, but Ronaldo's very smart with what he was saying, definitely. So this was the first one when he kind of says, essentially saying, don't blame Ralf Rangnick. He says he being Rangnick, arrived here 5 weeks ago. He's changed many things, but he needs time to put his ideas through the players and on the pitch. It takes time, but I believe he's going to do a good job. He also says, we knew we didn't play the best football as we should do, but we have many games to improve. Since he arrived, I think some points we are better, but as I said before, he needs time. He also then said, it's not that easy to change the mentality of players and the system and the culture just like that. So I believe he's going to do a good job. I still believe we are capable of having a good season. What do you think about that, DJ?
Well, I think, it was really good that he kind of, backed Ralf. I think if he did come out and sort of question the manager, that opens up a whole nother can of worms for us to debate over in the last couple of weeks. And to be honest, Manchester United has been through sort of the PR mill and the PR spin within the last 2 weeks strongly. There's a lot been going on, a lot too much for my liking anyway. But I'm glad that he sort of backed Ralf, and it kind of maybe dispels a few of the rumors that Ronaldo was allegedly not happy with certain tactical things and stuff like that. I think what he is unhappy with is the effort being put in by his teammates. And if anybody gets to have a say in that Manchester United team, it's him. It is definitely him. And I was thinking about with him, how would he affect the dynamic? Now, I do believe, and hear me out, guys, I do believe Ronaldo is a form of an issue at Manchester United, in a sense of he is taking up one of the striker spots where maybe Greenwood would have been blooded in this season and it would have helped his development. And that's not been the case. He is 36 and we're quite reliant on a 36-year-old. But having said that, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think when he's come into this dressing room, he's pulled rank, rightly so. To be fair, it's his club. He was there as a kid, literally went from a promising young talent to the best player in the world, or nearabouts, when he left Manchester United. And he deserves to have his say. And I think players should listen to him. I think players do need to take heed of what he says, because he's still at 36, still at the highest level in world football. And that is difficult. We see young players not even make it to their 30s in this game. So for him to have done that till 36, I do believe that maybe some of these young guys, I do think they respect him, but I think that, sometimes the truth hurts. The truth does hurt.
Yeah,
and when someone is telling
he mentioned that in it when he said, sometimes, younger players might think that being critical of them is, talking down to them or anything like that. But he's like, it's just honesty. And again, and it's how you react to it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's how you react to it, isn't it?
Exactly. And if you think kind of back to, the glory days, Rooney, Ronaldo, when Keane was slating them, right? And imagine having someone like Roy Keane and Gary Neville, especially if you're not playing well, all the older guys, your Rio and all these guys, literally, if you're not playing well, they're going to tell you about it, because that team especially was a very vocal team. A lot of strong characters, a lot of strong personalities, not even to mention the manager. That's just the players you play with, and they expect a high standard. So if you are not pulling up trees in your games, or you are not doing the bare minimum, they're going to let you know about it. And what did we see? We saw Ronaldo and Rooney react to that and go on to become some of the best players we've ever seen. I think that these United youngsters, if that is true what he's saying, he didn't mention any names, but we can kind of use our heads to kind of allude to that maybe some of these players, they're getting a bit bent out of shape by having the big man come in and tell them what's what and tell them kind of not what to do, but how to do it. And I think that might be an ego thing. I think that goes all the way back to the top in terms of structurally how our club is run. Guys that haven't even really done anything are on massive contracts, so their ego and their self-worth is inflated. We could go down that rabbit hole, but that's where I think all that stems from. But I'm glad that Ronaldo is sort of pulling rank and holding people accountable.
I think it's interesting as well that the last week or so, when you had those reports going out of the players being a bit like, oh, we're not actually sure about Ralph Rangnick's tactics and we're not sure about his coaches. It's interesting that the first interview that Ronaldo does afterwards, where he basically goes, no, this coach knows what he's talking about. He's good. He's going to need time, and it's going to take time to sort of change people's mentality and the culture around the club. Basically, him saying, those people that are moaning and complaining, saying, I'm not sure about his tactics. Well, just shut up. Basically, yeah. Who are you to judge him? Basically, who are you to say that the manager's not good enough? When we were just saying, like you haven't won anything. And people go, well, no, it's Ralph Rangnick and all that kind of stuff. But you're not the manager. You're the players. Yeah. You're not. And again, I think that's what Ronaldo's basically. And again, you have to look through all of the layers of it. But I think that's what he's basically saying is.
And he even said that himself.
No, he is good manager. He is a good coach. But you're pissing and moaning because you don't like it. Basically.
And he kind of said that. He goes, I'm a player, so I'm not from the coach. That's not my job. I'm a player, so I will listen basically to what the coach says tactically and stuff like that. And I think, I just think, honestly, Owen, I do think maybe, and Red Baron said it there, maybe it is just a Manchester United thing. Maybe it is just our players. I do think that these issues do exist across football, but we don't really hear too much about them. And if we do, you'd hear them maybe 5 years after it's actually happened. It's all come out a bit later in someone's book or tell.
Or biographies.
But yeah, exactly. But us, it seems like it's literally as soon as something happens, it gets printed, sent out. It gets sent out to the media. And I just think that Ronaldo's right. There needs to be a mentality issue. There needs to be a change. He clearly knows what the change is. He gave us breadcrumbs, so we're gonna have to piece it together. But there's issues here, deep issues, and if we're ever gonna get back to where we were, these issues need to be ironed out. My thing is this: I also thought, and I don't know what you think, Owen. I also thought that maybe, just maybe, he was putting pressure on actual Manchester United, the club, because he did say, I don't want to be fighting for 5th and 6th. And it looks like we might end up there. We could potentially end up there if we don't turn things around ASAP. And he's saying, I want to be fighting for 1, 2, and 3, bare minimum. 2 and 3, bare minimum. I want to win trophies. I want to win. And I think he's saying, look, if we ain't winning, I ain't staying.
Yeah, I mean, but that's pressure on the players as well. I think it's kind of a turnaround of, I don't want to be here when we're not, first and second. We'll get to the quote in a second. But with him saying basically, I don't want to be here challenging for 5th and 6th. Basically, it's like, why are you content with that? It's like he's looking around the change room going, why are you happy that we're 5th or 6th or 7th? Why don't you care? Like that's a massive problem that you don't care. That, it's just whatever. I'm a Man United player, so I've already made it. So that's it. Once I've got the move, once I've put the shirt on a couple of times, I'm immortal now. That's it. It's like, no, it don't work like that. It's one thing to get there to the show. It's one thing to constantly be playing and actually have success there. And I think that, again, with him saying that, he's like trying to, and this is how crazy it is. He's trying to remind players that play for Manchester United that they play for Manchester effing United, basically. Yeah. Like, do you know where you are kind of situation? And I think that's what he's kind of saying. Like the quotes here, he says, quote, Man United should win the league or be in 2nd or 3rd. And for a fact, by the way, that when he said 2nd or 3rd there, he was like, I don't know. He goes, Manchester United should win the league or be 2nd or 3rd. I don't see other positions for Manchester United. In my heart, I don't accept that our mentality is to be less and to be in the top 3 in the Premier League. He also said, we're capable to change things now. I don't know the specific way because I'm a player. I'm not the coach. I'm not the president. I know the way, but I will not mention it here because I don't think it's ethical on my part to say. So they were quite big ones there. One, like we just said, he's saying that I don't care that we haven't won anything for the Premier League for nearly a decade. I don't care that we last won our trophy in 2017. We're still Manchester United, and Manchester United should always be, Fergie used to say it, bread and butter, winning the league. Second or third is a bad season, but at the moment it'll be an amazing season for us. But that's what our standards should be. Don't let anything over the last decade that's changed. Don't drop your standards just because things have changed a little bit. That's where United should be. On top of that, like you were saying there, I know that maybe we can change things. I know what to change. I'm not the coach. And he mentioned it. We'll find the quote in a second, but he said like you have to go through a bit of pain to get some joy or whatever. And I think again, he's basically saying like, if I was the coach, I'd get rid of half of them. I just get rid of half of them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's telling, man. It's very telling, and you're right. He's very intelligent. He knows what to say and how to say it to get certain responses and reactions, I think. And I think that interview, some would have taken that as an attack because some are guilty, and some would have taken it as actually, what?
Guilty conscience.
He's right.
He's talking about me.
Exactly. Yeah, some people are going to feel attacked. And I think it's whoever the shoe fits. Yeah, that's for whoever the shoe fits. And I do think that, he clearly has a strong opinion of this team and what he's seen. And he hasn't been here that long. Yeah, he hasn't been here that long. He ain't even been here a season yet. He's been here, half a season or so. And he's literally now seeing this type of mentality fester. And a question would be, how many of these players, whether we've brought them in through this window or the last, how many of these players will remember Manchester United as great as it were? How many of them would have remembered? Because I think you're right, Owen. I don't think anyone said that across any fan channel. You said it's like our players, once they get that shirt, it's like, yeah, we've made it to the big time. And that's it. It's like they got to stop playing now. Or maybe play good for a couple of games and get your big money deal and your name across the back of the shirt and you've made it. And you're right. I think the mentality is we need serial winners. We want them, maybe not serial winners because they're young, but to be obsessed with wanting to win, to have that, to really want to be the best of the best. And I don't personally, as a fan, feel that. I don't think you feel that from this current crop. You've got winners like De Gea's won something, Varane's won something, Ronaldo's won something. They know what it feels like to win. And so coming into this team for Ronaldo, it must be such a shock to his system where it's like, wait, 5th and 6th, like what, you going home early from training or you can't be bothered to play or you're telling the manager, you want to sit this game out? Like, because it's not how we did things. It's not how it should be.
It's a shock on like so many different levels. It's a shock of one, it's Man United, and this is not Man United. This is not Man United standards. That's one. But just the fundamental shock of him being in a dressing room that doesn't really care to win. Yeah. You'd be like, that's basic football. Yeah. Basic football is you play to win. Like, what if you're playing not even professional football, just football in general? What's the whole point of playing? Win. That's the aim of the game. The aim of the game is score more goals, win the game. And to be playing with a group of players at a professional level, a club like Man United, that's built on winning, and then be surrounded by players that don't even care if they win or not. Just because, I play for United, so basically that's an extra million in terms of my followers on Instagram. Yeah, that's basically what it is. And I think, and again, this is what baffles me about all this kind of stuff is people will say, yeah, but Ronaldo's got the most followers on Instagram, out of anyone in the world. You go, yeah. Because he's one of, if not the best player in the world. That's how it works. It doesn't work the other way around. You don't get lots of players on Instagram and that makes you a good football player. No, you're a good football player, so people care about you enough to follow you on Instagram. Exactly. That's how it works. But for some, I guess, and again, it might be a modern day player, or it might be just a Man United thing. I don't know. It might be a player thing surrounded by bad influences. I don't know. But
there could be a lot.
To sort of look around and say, like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that if there is any young player that is not, I wouldn't say upset at his arrival or feels a little bit, I don't know, in the firing line from Cristiano, they just need to obviously look at his career. Some of them would have been really young, but look at this man's career in terms of pertaining to Manchester United. We could talk about Real Madrid and all the other stuff, but if pertaining to Manchester United, think about Owen. He came from Madeira, hot country, Portugal. He'd come to United. He was playing in them, them muddy games against, I don't know, like Aston Villas and the Evertons and the derbies when he was young and the fans screaming all of this and that. He played in those games, yeah? He was hardly ever injured. I can only probably count on one hand how many times he was injured for Manchester United. I do remember him having an ankle injury around, I think, maybe the 2007 season. Yeah, I kept him up for a couple of games. He came back and was on fire again, but he kept himself fit. He was around some of the biggest names in the sport, biggest characters in the sport. Yeah, as fans, we vilified him, we crucified him at times. He should pass. He's a show pony. We did it all, but he learned from it and he rose above it. And it just shows you the character of the man and the person, not even just the footballer, but the person. And he is probably trying to infect the rest of these younger guys with that same mentality because he wants to win. He wants to bring the glory days back. I think he thought he'd come in with the players that we signed, maybe get to the title this year. And I reckon if he would have got to the Premier League title this year, or maybe even a Champions League, then I think he would have bowed out of football and said, you know what, I'm done now. I've done everything. Because I think this was the last hurrah for him. I couldn't see him going to MLS. I think Manchester United would have been the last stop for him. And it just hasn't happened like that.
I think he made the wrong assumption, like you said, that he was walking into a dressing room that wanted to achieve things. Because he, like you said, I think he thought, well, my presence, my advice, my standards that I set, people will be willing and want to learn. That will infect the rest of the group, and then we go on and we win things. I don't think he thought he was going to be standing in a dressing room of players that ultimately could give a shit. And that's basically what he finds himself in. Now he has to do sort of cryptic interviews in the media. This was an interesting quote as well. This is the one you touched on about possibly sending a message to the board or the players, etc. He said, quote, "I don't want to be here at the club to fight for 6th place or 7th place or 5th place. I'm here to try and win, to compete. And if I think we compete, but we are not yet in our best level, but we have a long way to improve. And I believe if we change our mind, we can achieve big things." So, yeah, kind of what you were touching on earlier, DJ, with him sort of, do you think that's him sending a message to the board, to the players? Or do you think that's just him just being completely honest? Just like not even any messages, just saying it how it is. Like, no,
I think all of the above. All of the above,
yeah.
Owen, because this man is throughout his career. Do you want to stay at Manchester United? Oh, well, yeah, potentially, things go like he knows how to talk. He's a very good talker for somebody that English isn't his first language. I think it's a direct message. I thought that this interview had multiple people he was sort of targeting. I think he's targeting the club. I think he's targeting the club's ambitions. I think there was even a little bit in there for Rangnick to maybe give the manager a boost to say, look, I respect you. You're a good manager, but you do need to drop so-and-so next week or whatever. And there is obviously the people that he's probably had interactions with about sort of these ongoing issues. I do think that he is getting at the club and sending a message to the club. Definitely, 100%.
And this is the bit where he talked about offering advice to players, which again I found just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. He said, quote, "The mature players, the older players can always help the young players, but I can give you an example. If I give you advice, even if you're younger than me and you don't implant it that in a daily life, it will be difficult. I remember when I was 18, 19, 20, some old players speak with me and I put it as, Cristiano, you have to improve. They know more than you. They are more experienced than you. They pass through so many bad moments. The other people, the youngsters, don't accept that if you criticize them. I don't say this in relation to our players, but in general. I have kids, sometimes when you're a little harder, they do the opposite, and you have to find the right balance with them." So that's kind of what I was touching on earlier, where he's basically saying that I've got lots of advice to give. I've got lots of examples to set. And if someone asks me, I will more than happy give them advice or, tell them the way, all this kind of stuff. But unless they want to actually implement it, and it's a great life lesson, by the way, guys. Mm-hmm. You can ask people's advice. What shall I do? Because I don't know about you, DJ. I've been in this example when a friend comes to you, what shall I do? And you tell them, and then they don't implement it. You go, why did you ask me that?
Yeah.
Why did you ask me? It's true, but it's true. It's true. If you ask someone for advice, implement it, exactly. Unless, and then you realize actually why people are asking you for advice. Are they asking you for advice because they want to implement it or they want to improve themselves? Or are they asking for advice because they just want to confirm what's already in their head?
Exactly.
If players come up to you and go, Cristiano, what should I do? And he goes, nothing. You're great. And he goes, yeah, I knew I was great. Cheers, mate. And then walks off. Go, no. It doesn't work like that. So what did you make of that?
Yeah, I just find it hard to believe that some of these players would be not sort of like biting his hand off. I think for me and you, Owen, when we were younger and we heard the word Ronaldo, we thought of R9, the Brazilian one. A lot of these players, these younger players, this is their Ronaldo. This is their version. This
Yeah.
Ronaldo is their version of our Ronaldo that we grew up loving. World Cup '98, all of that stuff. That's him. So if the man of world football, because the only other one would be Messi, but if the man comes to your club in the summer and you're a young player, 20, 21, 23, whatever, and he comes into that dressing room, you are going to want to literally absorb everything that this man tells you because he has done it. Literally, he has done it all. Literally done it all. He's won the world. He's won cups in multiple leagues. Scored 800 and I think it's 5 goals now, 804 goals or whatever it is.
Yeah, you got your tally going.
Yeah, got my tally going. Literally, like, why wouldn't you want to just sit there and be like, okay, what do you eat for breakfast? Okay, what do you do? Like, you would want to soak all that up because he clearly has some of the answers that you're probably asking yourself if you're a young footballer. So, you know, I just think that they do need to, you know, take something from him. Is he a bit moany? Yeah, probably. Could he probably come across annoying and maybe micromanageable? Probably. I'm guessing he does because he is a bit like that. But it's because he knows the standards and it's because he's reached the mountaintop. And I don't know where he's trying to go from there, but he's still trying to go up. So join him. Get involved, man.
Exactly. And he says, quote, but in my opinion, the main point is that it should come from inside you. You should all be proud of yourself, look in the mirror and say, listen, I gave everything. And I think all of us should do that. And he's not exactly even saying that, oh, he's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. He says, we have to have the right mentality. I look to myself and I say, Cristiano, what can you do better to improve your level and to help the team? Yes, I can improve other things. So he's not even just, you know, going out there and saying, oh, it's all the other players' fault as well. He's going, no, I can improve. Maybe I need to do a little bit more and all this kind of stuff. And again, and that's why I say it's really important to watch the interview as well, because I don't think that interview, because I saw people, you know, he's ranting and raving and he's throwing all the team players under the bus or whatever.
Not at all.
I'm like, no, I think if you watch it, it comes from, I think, a really good place.
Yeah,
I just think it's professionalism, it's standards, and it's just, and he kept saying, like, over and over again, he goes, new year, new start, new year, new start. He's almost trying to say to these players, look, yeah, you were shit last year, but forget it. It's done. You can't change that now. We can change as the future. We can change as your levels today, tomorrow, and going forward. Yeah. And again, if certain players can't pick up on that, and like you said, if you're around Cristiano Ronaldo and you can't pick up his advice, or you're not willing to implement arguably, you know, the advice of arguably the greatest player ever, then there is something wrong with you. There is something wrong with you.
Yeah, it goes beyond, you know, it being a football matter. It's more of a personal matter, like you as a person.
Yeah.
Like maybe you're just not that type of person that just wants to learn from good people and take good advice. Because I'm pretty sure even down to sort of, you know, the first couple of weeks he joined, we was hearing, you know, some of the players weren't touching the apple crumble on a Friday and stuff like that. And there were funny little sound bites. But again, you know, if that was the case, I think what's upset the apple cart as it may is that he is now pulling rank. I think when he came in, he was like, hey, look, I'm Cristiano. I'm just like you guys. But now I think when things are going wrong, it does take someone to stand up and be counted. And he is that guy because he knows what Manchester United's about. It's steeped in history and he was a part of that. I do believe that, and here's me speculating, I do believe that maybe there is an issue there with Harry Maguire because of all the stuff that, shouldn't it be Harry Maguire, our captain, doing an interview like that, talking about the standards and the mentality and stuff like that? It should be our captain. But our captain, he likes to post on the social media and leave it at that. I just think that maybe that's an issue as well. And from when I look at Manchester United, sometimes I'll go on YouTube and I see somebody, you know, they sometimes post the training videos, like when a game's coming up. I do see the little cliques forming. I do see, you know, the Portuguese contingent around Ronaldo, and then I see the other guys kind of off in the distance. And maybe there is a divide, but, you know, they need to kind of stick to what this club is about, being united. We're Manchester United and we need to be united at a time like this.
I think you raise a good point about Harry Maguire, because I think people will say, because Harry Maguire has done interviews like that, and he has said sometimes similar stuff to that. You know, when he would see the one before the Villa game on Monday of, you know, we need to go on a run and I'm the dressing room leader and I'm the captain. Ronaldo certainly wouldn't say that, but he has said stuff like that in the past of, we need to improve and we need to do this and we need to do that. The issue is with Harry Maguire, and this is the issue of him being Man United captain in the first place, is you would say, right, you're not even following your advice, though. How can you say to other people, you need to improve your level, you need to do this, that, and the other, you need to do this, and you go, well, but you're not leading by example on the pitch. You're playing badly. It's like anything. It's like working anywhere. It's like working, I don't know, in a shop. You're top salesman, and then the guy who isn't selling anything, but he's your manager, goes, you need to be selling more. You go, you're selling shit all. What are you telling me for? Actually, should it be you? They're raising your levels. It's a bit like that. And that's the problem. And I think that's the problem with probably why someone like Cristiano Ronaldo should be captain is he is a leader. He's the definition of a leader. Yeah. And Harry Maguire just isn't really. Yeah. Let's call a spade a spade. He just isn't. And I think that's the problem is when he does those interviews, Harry Maguire, you go, I just don't buy it. Sorry, I just don't buy it.
Do you know what that tells me, though? What that tells me is that if you've come out maybe several times saying that, you yourself and the team need to improve, but yet your actual individual game is not improving, that just tells me that you're trying your best, but you are still not being able to do it. So that means you're not at this level for me. That means you're just not at this level and you're digging yourself a hole. Why would you set expectations like that? Or if I was a player, I wouldn't come out to the media unless I was addressing my future. That is it. I have nothing else to say to the fans. Why? Because of what I'll show the fans would be on the pitch by winning games. I wouldn't come out and be like, guys, next game we need to go on a run. Who told him to do that? His agent, PR team should have said, no, Harry, don't say anything. Just keep your head down and work on the pitch. If you want to tell the media something, score a goal, maybe do it in your celebration, but don't come out and tell us as fans because now
he did that for England, didn't he? He did that for England and then denied he did it. And then denied he did it. I didn't know it was nothing.
It weren't for Man United. Yeah,
I meant nothing. Remember, it didn't mean anything. It was just
who was it against again? Who was it against?
Albania.
There you go. In a nothing game. Do that in the Champions League final if we ever get there. Do that then, and then maybe I'll be like, well done, Harry. I understand. I get how you feel, Harry. Do it then. But I think he's just digging a hole. And, I just think that if he can't improve his individual levels, it shows us that, and not just him, any of the players that come out and say stuff like that, it shows me that you are incapable of increasing your quality. So maybe this ain't for you.
Henrik says, please, Owen, arrange a quiz every month. The Christmas quiz was so funny. I think the plan was, I don't know. I think the plan was to be doing one once a month. It was a lot of fun. And I'm not just saying that because I won.
I think he is.
No, but it was a lot of fun. So I think we are going to be doing more of those going forward. That was a lot of fun. Let's talk about some transfer stuff as well, because I mentioned we were going to talk about some transfer things. Donny van de Beek. So there's more about his future. There's more about his future every single day. The problem is with Manchester United and transfer stuff, and again, this comes from experience of doing these transfer view shows, is that one day you get some stories and the next day you go, we're not selling or buying anyone. And then another story comes out later that day. So who knows what to believe? But there's been an update when it comes to Donny van de Beek. So it says that Newcastle United and Borussia Dortmund have sounded out a potential loan move for Donny van de Beek during this January transfer window. This comes from Ty Marshall of the Manchester Evening News, so close to the club. Van de Beek is open to leaving Manchester United this month, but any move would require Manchester United's blessing. However, with Rangnick uncertain about his midfield options at the moment, that is unlikely to happen. Bundesliga giants Dortmund and the newly minted Newcastle have both been spoken to about their interest in a short-term switch. First of all, DJ, do you think Donny van de Beek is going to go anywhere this month?
Nah, I don't think so. Yeah. I do think because, and I think Solskjaer said it as well, this COVID thing is very unpredictable. So I think having an inflated squad to an extent is beneficial. Especially if some of your first teamers are getting COVID and having to sit out. But then also I do think that, it's a crazy one because Rangnick came out the other day and said, when we put Donny on for the last 20 minutes and we actually controlled the midfield. Well, we've been trying to tell you that, and the man before you, for a while, that this guy can play ball. Put him in a team and give him a chance. So from when Rangnick actually come out and said that, it's either one or two things. It's either he's actually, okay, Donny's impressed me. Maybe we can do something here. Or he's only saying it so he can get clubs to come in for him. So I don't know. But on a side note, I think Donny at Dortmund would be amazing, personally.
Be an interesting one. It's just one of those ones, isn't it? Like like anything, like on Football Manager, where you go to sell a player and then suddenly some big clubs come in for him. You go, oh, actually, have I read this one wrong? Borussia Dortmund. Look, I think I'm with you. I don't expect him to leave in January. I don't. I think every Man United fan at this point, we just sympathise with him. We really do. And when
It's
we say
horrible,
that
man.
Donny should leave, it's not a case of Donny should leave because he's rubbish, he's terrible. Ultimately, we don't know. We
Yeah,
just don't know. we don't know if he's good or terrible. We don't know if he's Manchester United level or not. All we've really got to judge him by in terms of a length of game, a length of like continuous game time, is his time at Ajax, because he's never had that at Manchester
yeah.
United.
I
Some
don't think
people
I've
will
ever
say,
seen
and
this
it's
before.
fair,
Yeah,
yeah, no, and some people say it's fair, or well, when he's played for United, he hasn't really, set the world alight, and that's like, well, that's fair, but if they're one-off games or they're 15 minutes here, 50 minutes there, how can you tell? If he had a
yeah,
10-game run and he was just terrible or average, you go, well, maybe he's not good enough. Maybe
yeah,
he's not good enough. And that's it. We just don't know. We don't know. And again, at this point, I said about Eric Bailly, I said about Martial, I say about Donny van der Beek. If people are unhappy and they don't want to be at United for whatever reason, they should go. They should
yeah.
just
They
go,
should.
because at this point, I'm over being like, oh, but maybe they could turn into this, that, and the other at United. They're not going to. Not
Yeah,
either because they're not good enough, or either in Donny's case because they're just not going to play.
yeah.
And maybe it is a case of them going, well, maybe Ten Hag will come in at the end of the season, but that'd be like, what, 3 managers? It's a case of, we just got to get the right manager to play Donny van der Beek. And it's like, this is
Yeah.
a guy's career. There's a World Cup coming up at the end of the year,
This is the thing, though. I do think someone like Ten Hag would use players like Donny. I think Ten Hag would like the more technical players. I think Poch would. I don't know. I don't think Donny would play much under Poch, in my opinion, either. I just think it just
Mm.
depends on the type of manager and the type of team they want to build. I think Donny would fit City. I think Donny would fit Dortmund. You know, the technical teams where it's not really about having these destroyers and these athletic specimens in the middle of the pitch. Like, they just want technical ball players that can keep the ball moving in rotation. With Donny, one thing I will say about him, I kind of stopped talking about Donny because it just seemed to me the writing was on the wall. All of us fans, we've wished, we've prayed, we've rioted on social media for this man to get games and start. But to the people that are maybe the Donny naysayers, I'll just say this: if you're a player that's been frozen out for quite some time and you've been lied to, I was going to say bend the truth, but it is lying. Lied to multiple times that you're a part of plans, that you will play, and every time you get overlooked for even injured players, every time you might put up a 10 in training, still not get picked. There are going to be times where you do get that odd game, which comes randomly, probably, that you're not going to play your best because you just burn out. You just burn out from the hope. And, in the games when he has played well, he still hasn't been picked. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, he literally cannot win. However, on the flip side, and here's me trying to look at two sides of the argument, because I get triggered when we talk about Donny, as you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there are qualities in his game that he is missing, that McFred do have, that they just do have. They get about the pitch quicker in a league where physicality is one of the top assets that you need to have. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave the argument at that. I won't be
I
mentioning
thought you were going to go on a longer thing.
No, with Donny, I kind of just I do pray. I honestly do think if he does come into the team with the right system, he will flourish and he could be what we're missing in terms of creating and stuff like that. But if not, then it is what it is, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, and also, look, if we got, Zakaria in or whatever, maybe that might be the right time to go, you know what, Donny, just go out on loan. And then maybe when you come back, we might be in a bit of a different place. We might have a different manager. You might do well at Newcastle or Dortmund or whatever. And then maybe things will change. The issue is right now is him being there, isn't it? Of just him being there.
Yeah.
Because even if he did go, well, this is what, but I do get United side of it. Don't get me wrong in that it's almost would be, if we did let Donny go out on loan to Dortmund or Newcastle, and then suddenly we have like another like COVID crisis, or we do have injuries, and it's like we don't actually have that many central midfielders.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
exactly.
it would be a bit of a problem. So maybe it does depend on other stuff happening as well. And this kind of just follow on from this. So this comes from Laurie Whitwell from the Talk of the Devils podcast. He said, quote, in terms of incomings, Ralph Rangnick does want a central midfielder to come this month, and there are talks in the works for that. There are a couple of names I've heard, but I want to make a few more checks before naming them. So that's Laurie Whitwell. That's from The Athletic. That's proper sources. That's proper tier one journalists saying, no, Rangnick wants a central midfielder. And in contrast to what other reports are saying, he wants the central midfielder this month. Now, again, he didn't mention the actual names or anything like that, but given the people we're linked with, you know, whether it's Zakaria, whether it's Kamara, whether it's whoever, they're the two big ones when it comes to central midfielders. They're basically saying, like, no, like there is something there. And this is the crazy thing with this. I spoke with Flex about this yesterday, is you've got, and this is different because it's domestic journalists actually saying what the foreign journalists are saying. But the majority of the domestic journalists are saying, no, United aren't doing any business. That's just not happening. And that to me speaks like, oh, the club are probably saying, no, I wouldn't get your hopes up. But all of the foreign journalists, the ones that actually might be closer to the deal in terms of the player side, are going, no, United are talking to people. United are going after Zakaria or whoever. And now that Laurie Whitwell is saying, no, Ralph Rangnick does want a central midfielder. He knows that's a problem. We know that's a problem. And they're looking to do it maybe this month. What do you make of all of that?
Yeah, I do think, well, United are, from what we've seen kind of with the Kieran Trippier deal, even though time's progressed since we wanted him, but even then, like, he's gone to Newcastle for dirt cheap, like literally dirt cheap it is. So there is a certain tax when Manchester United come calling. Still, even though we haven't won anything meaningful in 10 years, i.e. Premier League, there's going to be a tax on there. So I do believe that Man United will keep cards close to the chest, especially with the domestic media compared to obviously the foreign media. But they would be fools not to speak to any club for their targets in terms of this month, because the reality is, if we continue to, leak goals, if we continue to be so easily bypassed in midfield because of a lack of quality, we will see ourselves outside of the top four very easily. So I do think it's the right move to sort of identify at least one player. You don't have to go do wholesale changes in January, but bring in that one player that we actually do fundamentally need. If it's a Zakaria, even though I heard his injury record's a bit suspect over the last couple of years, or if I'm hearing Basuma in the summer, maybe that's if Pogba goes. I don't know, but they would be smart to have some inquiries going behind the scenes. I'm happy for them to deny it here. I don't mind. But just bring someone in. The ultimate test is just bring someone in. I don't care if you're lying about it up until January 31st or whatever it is. Bring someone in, because we do need someone.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it's just patchwork. Maybe it's just patchwork of let's just get one person in, and maybe that might help us get closer to the top four. And then maybe in the summer we'll do something completely different. I don't know. I do see United's perspective, and they've kind of got themselves into a bit of a dilemma here as well. Or they've got themselves into a problem. And I mentioned this to Flex yesterday as well, that, okay, Zakaria is obviously available, someone like him, and they do go, okay, we just need a central midfielder that can probably get us to the end of the season. Okay, let's bring someone in, Zakaria. The issue is that if you don't get rid of anyone else, the biggest problem we have at United right now is our squad is too big. And we've got so many unhappy players, the majority of them because they're not playing. They were promised they were going to be playing, and they're not playing. If you bring someone else into that squad, that basically means one more person is probably going to become unhappy because they're not playing. So they've got themselves in this dilemma of, okay, we need a central midfielder, obviously. But if we bring them in, that's another person that probably isn't going to be playing, one of them, and that's going to bring more issues. So is it a one in, one out situation? Or is it a case of, right, we just need to get rid of some people and then we can bring in Zakaria? I mean, what do you think about that as well? Because it's such a dynamic issue.
That's actually a good way to look at it. But then I struggle. For as limited as McFred is, I cannot see, until maybe the big final manager that does come in at the end of the season, I don't see Ralph getting rid of the big boss. I don't see anybody getting rid of either one of them. I don't see it. I don't see Rashford leaving in January. Maybe it would be your Martial's, Donny's, but even I'm hearing United have gone cold on some of those deals as well. I do think one in, one out, one in kind of thing. It would make sense. Because what Solskjaer was really good at doing was actually kind of getting rid of a lot of the deadwood that we had at that time. And I think that something similar does need to happen now. So maybe if United are smart, maybe they'll think, you know what? They'll take a gamble and say maybe 4 players that we know we've highlighted are surplus to requirements. Go out on your loans with a view for a permanent deal at the end of the season. So then when the new manager comes in, he has a bit of room to work with and bring in the players that he needs to. Because imagine now a new manager comes in after Ralph. Say if we do get someone in January, 1 player at least, new manager comes in the summer, brings in maybe, let's hope, 4 players, fingers crossed, 4 players, maybe even more if there are a lot of outgoings. You know, it gives that manager room to work with. And again, we don't want to be having players here unhappy, because it's really just horrible for us as fans to listen to every other week. This player's coming out, I'm looking for a move. I don't think as a fan for my whole life, I've heard of so many players unhappy at Manchester United. You always get maybe the odd one, and that would be a substitute. Do you know what I mean? There was the Rooney
not like
thing.
13 or 17
Yeah,
or something
13 or
ridiculous like
17. That is just
That's
crazy.
the crazy thing, isn't it, as well, is that, and again, it's this like walking contradiction where it's like, oh, we need to get rid of some players because so many people aren't playing, but they're unhappy. But we're also reluctant to get rid of any of them because of COVID and the situations. We might need them. And so we might need them. But so far, we haven't. We haven't needed them. The stats isn't there to need them because they haven't played.
Exactly.
So why do we walk around this constant walking hypothetical of we might need them at some point? And it's like, but we haven't yet. We haven't. And they're unhappy. And if they're unhappy, let them go.
Yeah, I think just to kind of follow on from what you said, Owen, I think, and one thing I was going to say, and it kind of brings in the whole Van der Beek issue and any other player that's not really playing, is we have seen players being given chance time and time again, able to mess up in crucial games, mess up maybe twice or 3 times in a row, and still get picked. So that's not even a professional footballer, can understand the frustration that some of these other players that are not even getting a link, players like Lingard, Donny, you know, even Henderson, for an example. Henderson in the least so, because De Gea has been awesome this season. But, you know, some of these players getting a run in the team. Rangnick came in and he played Tellez and Dalot, which did well for a few games. Players like Donny was probably thinking, well, it must be my turn now. It must be my turn now. Because they were on the bench next to me. But I even got a chance before Donny. So it was kind of like, we need to be rotating our squads a little bit more than we do. And I get managers want to come in and have a settled squad. But if these players, individual players, you're giving them 3 chances, 4 chances, 5 chances at a maximum, and they're still not performing, that means it is time to change it. Bring in someone that might give you what you need. And I don't think we do that enough. And I do also think, I'm going off on a tangent here, I do also think that we hold on to players for too long in terms of contracts as well. Yeah, I think we are it's just such a mess. It's just such a mess from the top down. And I think we're paying for it now. We're paying for it when all these different situations pop up.
Absolutely. Finally, this is an interesting one because Man United and I get linked to a lot of players anyway. The only reason I'm talking about it in this stream is just because it does come from a credible source. So Simon Johnston from The Athletic, once again, credible source, say that Manchester United are keen on getting Antonio Rudiger, similar to Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich. But of course, United cannot move for Rudiger until the end of the season when he's a free agent. It's not a case of, because obviously he's based in England, we can't go after him right now, or we could probably have some informal talks that probably aren't completely legal. But yeah. But what do you think about that one? I mean, do you see there's any chance whatsoever in the summer of Antonio Rudiger coming to Manchester United?
I think there's a slim chance. Slim chance, very slim chance.
Do you actually think there's a slim chance? I think there's no chance.
I think there's a slim chance because if I'm the manager and because I think he's a really good player, very good player. I'm saying to Ronaldo, you know, you're getting your stars, Ronaldo, Varane. Please go talk to him. Go and have a word with him. Bend his ear and get him over here. Yeah, because if Varane can say, hey, look, you know me, I come because you know the person that's coming to talk to you has a good pedigree. So they're like, look, we're building something here. You're wanted. Come play with us.
But we're not.
We want to go to the next level.
That's lying. We're building something here. He's like, yeah, bullshit.
Where's Ollie when you need him? We need a liar. We need a prime serial liar in there. I think Out of 100, 10%. 10%.
I just don't see it. First of all, I think that it's a free transfer as well. So we're talking, and the only reason he hasn't agreed a contract at Chelsea is because he wants big wages. He wants, big wages.
And who's the
big
club that
wages
can
for
give
Chelsea.
big wages?
Well, yeah, but look where that's got us in the past. Sanchez all over again. I'm not saying that Rudiger would come in, but with this being quoted like 400k a week for a centre back,
Jesus,
for a centre back. And if we do that, we haven't learned from any mistakes of the past.
You're right.
We went through a stage of doing that, of being like, this player's come available, they're good. Yes, free transfer, get him in, and then they're the 400 sort of dead weight, 400k dead weight, and it's just constant.
But if you think about it, if because I'm hearing conflicting reports over Bailly as well. So if Bailly does go, and maybe you do ship Phil Jones as well, that is the wage bill's freed up quite significantly.
Yeah, but 400k.
I wouldn't tell it. Not 400k. I'd say the highest I'd go for him is 200k, man. That's it. If that, 180.
Look, obviously I'm a Man United fan, and I don't mean this to be like a put down on Manchester United, but why would you go from Chelsea to United at this point?
It's true. No, it's true. That's true.
Like, why would you do that?
True. And that's
you just won the Champions League. I'm going to do it again at United.
He ain't coming. I think you're right, Owen. He ain't coming.
I can absolutely see United trying to get into the race. Absolutely. I can see them being like, "Oh, Rudiger's become available. He's a free transfer." And again, it's a bit of a myth, isn't it, that free transfers are free? Because they're not.
They're not.
They're really expensive. Basically, the money you would spend on a transfer fee just goes into wages and signing on bonuses and agent fees.
Exactly.
They just pocket more than the club does. So
exactly.
I don't know. Obviously, he'll have plenty of offers. I wouldn't even be surprised if he stays at Chelsea. Eventually they'll bend, because when you've got people like Madrid and PSG interested. Although I think the positive thing Chelsea probably have is at the moment they've got so many great young players that they'd be like, all right, we've got plenty of centre backs coming through. It's all right.
Yeah.
We've got Chalobah. Boom.
Yeah. Do you know what I think with the Rudiger situation? I just think that he probably will go to the highest bidder. That's what I do think. And United, if the only way I see this still happening is if they do offer him inflated wages. But then, to be honest, we would be in the same predicament anyways as we are now if we got rid of Bailly and rid of Phil Jones, because they just combine their two wage packets and give it to him. Basically, that's what they do. So we'd be in the same situation as we are right now, but you'd be getting a top player. But you're right. Why would he want to leave Chelsea, who clearly have a plan, know what they're doing, compared to us, who doesn't even know who the manager is going to be at the end of the season, who doesn't even know what the team's going to be really looking like, who doesn't even know what style of play we have at this moment in time, whether it's 4-2-2 or 4-2-3-1, whatever. We are still a team in an identity crisis. So why would you want to go to that mess? I just don't see it. The only answer would be money. And we
also
are known
as well,
for stupidity like that.
That's not just a Rudiger thing as well. That sums up a lot of potentially big transfers that we would be going for either now or in the summer. If anything, we've almost got to be looking at players from, let's say, lesser clubs or players that are on the ascendancy, because if we wanted to do a deal like this, like the Haaland thing, like, why would Erling Haaland agree to come to Manchester United now? I mean, previously, I said before, like, I think he was United's top target coming out of the transfer window in the summer, and they thought next summer is a possibility. And maybe, who knows, right? Maybe we might just throw enough money at the situation that it happens. But if you are Erling Haaland now, like you said, you'd be looking at United going, why would I go there? Like, one, you don't know who the manager's going to be. I don't know what the team's going to be. Apparently, the dressing room's constantly pissed off. I don't even know if you're going to be in the Champions League next season. Probably not. All that kind of stuff is, I guess, makes these transfers difficult. But you know what? Like Ronaldo said earlier on, maybe we just have to go through that pain. Maybe we just have to go through that pain to get some joy later on down the line. Maybe it needs to all collapse. Maybe the deck of cards needs to completely collapse, and then we just build it back up again, and we build something much better than what's already in place.
And we'd have to be very, very brave to do that with a board that, Oli invested, what was it, 400 million or something like that he invested in total. Are the board willing to give the next manager that and maybe even more? Because what I fear happening, and I said this at the start of the season, is that if we can't get Pogba performing, if Pogba goes, if Donny goes, if Matic goes, if Mata goes, if Henderson goes, if one of our left or right, if maybe Shaw decides that he wants to go abroad or whatever it is, Martial goes, like Lingard, like there's so many players. There's so many players that are on the periphery of this team. They want to leave. Their agents are in their ear 24/7. Oh, you didn't get picked again? Yeah, don't worry. We're going to get something going in the summer for you. Our team, and if our board, because we know how incompetent they are, so it's not like we can say, oh, it's not like we've got Chelsea's board where we know, oh yeah, don't worry, they're definitely going to get somebody. Yeah. We've got a board that ums and ahs over 5, 6 million, 10 million or whatever it is, haggles over it. So I don't even trust the rebuild in their arms. So yeah, maybe Ronaldo is right. We might go through 2 seasons of having the likes of Dan James type players come in for cheaper fees, but not the quality that we need. We might have to go through that pain yet again, Owen. We might actually have to do that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating thing. Look, we've obviously got a game on Saturday. Tomorrow's the press conference, which is going to be interesting as always. Ralph Rangnick press conference is always interesting. He's very, I wouldn't say blunt, talker. but he's a good talker. Yeah, he is a good talker, and they are the answers are interesting, especially after what Ronaldo has said. So that's going to be interesting tomorrow. What do you think for the weekend? How are you feeling about it?
Oh man,
did Monday do anything for you?
Not at all. No. Not at all. No. Not at all. I'll tell you what. I think the most confident I've been this season was the Leeds win and the Crystal Palace 30-minute performance. I think those are the only 2 games for me anyway that filled me with any sort of optimism and confidence. I do think that it's just going to be another blood and guts game. Might scrape it 1-0. Might draw. I predicted a draw 1-1. But don't be surprised if we even lose. I just think that these players. I think they've, apart from maybe 1 or 2, have run their course for Manchester United. I think they just can't be bothered anymore with everything that's been going on. It's been a circus. We are a laughing stock at the moment. I don't think we're going to get anything from that game. Maybe a draw at best.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's almost completely different as well from Monday's game. It's Villa Park, Premier League. They've got Coutinho. I don't know if Dinho will be playing in that one, but if put it this way, Villa, this is how crazy Monday's game was. The team that lost will be more confident for the next game. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
It should be the team that won's like, right, we're playing them again in a couple of days' time. We fancy ourselves. That's not how it works. That's literally not how it works. The team that lost, Aston Villa, will be like, actually, you know what? I fancy us. I fancy us for the game the weekend because they're at home and because they know on another day they could have scored 3 or 4.
You just know that McFred's playing that game, especially if Coutinho's there. You know that one of them's going to have the job of that's the guy you need to sit on him all game, literally. And it just then proves that maybe we're not going to see a different system. I do think that maybe there could be a diamond. You know, I think Rangnick was happy with the diamond when Donny came on because we actually went to a diamond then and we had a lot of control. So not a lot of control, but we had some control. But I think that maybe I wouldn't be surprised if I saw just sort of thinking outside the box. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Matic come back in, Fred, McTominay, right side of the diamond, with maybe Bruno at the tip of the diamond, and we play like that. I think. I don't know if Rashford will start. Maybe Greenwood, Ronaldo.
No. He shouldn't. He shouldn't. Not even the fact that because he's not playing badly. He just needs time out the team.
Yeah,
I think at this point, it's not worth it unless he's literally going to score a hat trick. He's going to be under so much scrutiny anyway that it's just not worth it. Yeah. And a good manager would be like, nah, he needs time out the spotlight. But anyway, guys, that's all coming this weekend. As mentioned, tomorrow there'll be a video in the morning with the transfer view, Friday morning transfer view. Love getting out for those. Oh, I look totally awake when I do them in the morning. I'm telling you. Oh. Completely wide-eyed I am. And then I'll be back at 2 for the press conference reaction and the match preview. Then, of course, Saturday, we've got a full game day. So we're going to have the road trip with Flex. We're going to have the match view. We're going to have, which I don't know who's doing it at the moment, so don't even ask, the match view. Then we'll have the match reaction with all of us afterwards. And then we'll have, of course, all the fan views outside the stadium. So now is the perfect time to like and subscribe so you won't miss a single thing at the weekend. Anyway, guys, we're out of here. Have a good Thursday, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon.